Biology, fields of study. Well, before starting with my topic, I'm Sergio Adrián González Hernández from classroom 219 of CED. Once done my presentation, let's start. Biology. This science studies life from various standpoints. It has various branches, such as anatomy and anthropology, the study of the human itself, botany, the study of plants, and biology, the development of an embryo, biomedicine, which is just medicine, biochemistry, the chemical reactions inside the living organisms, cytology, the study of cells, whether it be animal or plant cells, genetics, the study of genes, histology, the human changes all along history, immunology, resistant to things, virology, studies viruses and its spread, and zoology, that studies animals, but maybe in the near future astrobiology, which is investigation about extraterrestrial organisms, will be included since we humans have gone beyond the limits of our planet. Which makes the next question: how did life originate in the first place? Is it a persistent topic that everyone in this planet had asked at least once in his life? How did life start? What factors favored the assembly and creation of the first biomolecules? Certainly we don't know, but there are some theories, like the one which says that it was formed by underwater volcanoes or lightning, or maybe it came inside a meteorite or a space rock, or it was created by a superior being, we don't know, but it's relevant. So it is relevant to continue looking for the answer to this great question: why are we here on Earth?
Characteristics of living things. Defining a living thing is a difficult portion, as is defining life, that property possessed by living things. However, a living thing possesses certain properties that help define what life is. Complex organizations. Living things have a level of complexity and organization not found in lifeless objects. At its most fundamental level, a living thing is composed of one or more cells. These units, generally too small to be seen with the naked eye, are organized into tissues. Metabolism. Living things exhibit a rapid turnover of chemical materials, which is referred to as metabolism. Metabolism involves exchanges of chemical material with the external environment and extensive transformation of organic matter within the cells of a living organism. Responsiveness. All living things are able to respond to stimuli in the external environment. For example, living things respond to exchanges in light, heat, sound, and chemical and mechanical contact. To detect stimuli, organisms have means for receiving information such as eyes, ears, and taste buds. Growth. Growth requires an organism to take in material from the environment and organize the material into its own structures. To accomplish growth, an organism spends some of the energy it acquires during metabolism. An organism has a pattern from accomplish the building of growth structures. Reproduction. A living thing has the ability to produce copies of itself by the process known as reproduction. These copies are made while the organism is still living. Among plants and simple animals, reproduction is often an extension of the growth process. Evolution. Living organisms have the ability to adapt to the environment through the process of evolution. During evolution, change occur in populations, and the organisms in the population become better able to metabolize, respond, and reproduce. Ecology. The environment influences the living things that it surrounds. Ecology is the study of relationships between organisms and their relationship with the environment. Both biotic factors and abiotic factors can alter the environment. Now, distinction between prokaryotic and eukaryotic is considered to be the most important distinction among groups of organisms. Eukaryotic cells, membrane-bound organelles, such as the nucleus, while prokaryotic cells do not. Differences in cellular structures of prokaryotes and eukaryotes include the presence of mitochondria and chloroplasts.
We will talk about the microscopic history and the cell theory. First, let's begin with the microscope history. The microscope history started on 1590 with Zacharias Jensen and Hans Jensen, where by 1665 Robert Hooke wrote on his book Micrographic the observations he made on the microscope. By 1674, Anton Bahn granted license to have a better quality observation on the microscope. By 1826, Joseph Jackson created anachromatic lenses to eradicate the chromatic effect. In 1860, Ernest Dave discovers a breakthrough in microscope design based on trial and error. And for the end, in 1931, Ernst Ruska builds the first electron microscope. Now that we end up with the topic of the microscopic history, let's talk about the cell theory. First, the cell theory was proposed or developed by some authors. These are named Schwann, Schleiden, and Virchow. The cell theory consists of 5 postulates, but the 5th is not official yet, so let's talk about the first 4, and the 5th we're mentioning or explaining later. The first postulate states that the cell is a morphological and structural unit of all living things. In other words, all living things are made up of cells. The state number 2 says that every cell comes from a pre-existing one. The number 3 says that the cell is the physiologic unit of life and all the vital functions occurring on the cell. The 4th states that the cell contains the hereditary information of the control of its development. Now, for the 5th statement, it says that the disease begins in the cell. This has not been official yet, but it's on their way to do it.
So I'm going to talk about 4 topics. The first one is types of transportation, the second one diffusion, the third one endocytosis and exocytosis, and finally the levels of organization. So starting with the types of transportation, I'm going to talk about the passive transportation. It's a movement of ions and other atomic or molecular substances across cell membranes without need of energy input. The next one, active transport, is a movement of molecules across a membrane from a region of lower concentration to a region of higher concentration against the concentration gradient. Now, the second topic, diffusion. Diffusion is a net movement of molecules from an area where they are at a higher concentration to areas where they are at a lower concentration. Now, the facilitated diffusion. It is a form of facilitated transport involving the passive movement of molecules along their concentration gradient, guided by the presence of another molecule, usually an integral membrane protein forming a pore or channel. Third topic, endocytosis, the taking in of matter by a living cell by invagination of its membrane to form a vacuole. Exocytosis, a process by which the contents of a cell vacuole are released to the exterior through fusion of the vacuole membrane with the cell membrane. Now, the final topic, levels of organization. Starting with the smallest one, the subatomic, then atomic, molecule, organelle, cell, tissue, organ system, organism, population, ecosystem, and the biggest one, biosphere.
Homeostasis. Homeostasis is the tendency to resist a change in order to maintain a stable, relatively constant internal environment. Maintenance of homeostasis usually involves a negative feedback loop. This loop acts to oppose the stimulus or cue that triggers them. For example, if your body temperature is too high, negative feedback loops will act to bring it back down towards the set point or target value of 36 degrees Celsius. How does this work? First, the temperature will be detected by the sensors, the primary nerve cells that are connected to your skin and your brain. This information will be relayed to a temperature regulatory control center in your brain. This control center will process the information and activate the effectors, such as the sweat glands, whose job is to oppose the stimulus by bringing the body temperature back down. Some biological systems, however, use positive feedback loops. These loops, unlike the negative ones, amplify the starting signal. Positive feedback loops are usually found in processes that need to be pushed to completion, or not when the status quo needs to be maintained. Organ systems. Humans and other complex multicellular organisms have systems of organs that work together to carry out processes that keep us alive. The body has levels of organization that build on each other. Cells make up tissues. Tissues make up organs. Organs make up organ systems. For example, the cardiovascular system. The function of an organ system depends on the integral activity of its organs. For instance, the digestive system's organs cooperate to process food and absorb nutrients. The survival of the organism depends on the integral activity of all the organ systems, often coordinated by both the endocrine system and the nervous system. The endocrine system provides communication within the body via hormones and directs long-term changes in organ systems to maintain homeostasis. The nervous system, which collects, transfers, and processes information, also directs short-term changes in organ systems.
So the topics I'm going to be explaining is health and disease, health in adolescence, and healthy lifestyles. First of all, health and disease. The definition of health is the state of being free from illness or injury. Disease is any harmful deviation from the normal structural or functional state of an organism, generally associated with certain signs and symptoms. The study of a disease is called pathology. It involves the determination of the cause of the disease, the understanding of the mechanisms of its development, the structural changes associated with the disease process, and the functional consequences of those changes. Correctly identifying the cause of a disease is necessary to identify the proper cause of treatment. Health in adolescence, besides taking care of your physical health, here's a social experiment. A continuous assessment and a categorical diagnosis of the presence of mental health described as flourishing and the absence of mental health characterized as languishing are proposed and applied to data from the second wave of the child development. Supplement of the panel study of income dynamics, in which a comprehensive set of subjective well-being items were administered to a sample of 1,234 youth ages from 12 to 18. Flourishing was the most prevalent diagnosis among youth ages from 12 to 14. Moderate mental health was the most prevalent diagnosis among the youth ages from 15 to 18, and depressive symptoms decreased as mental health increased. Healthy lifestyles. The definition of a healthy lifestyle is a sequence of activities that help the body to have a better performance during the day. From 6:30 to 7 a.m. it's an advice. You drink 2 cups of water with lemon each morning. From 7 to 7:30, do 30 minutes of cardiovascular exercise on an empty stomach. And during your day, have a snack that contains protein and getting